Let me start with you, Katrina. You know, this kind of news, these charts are mind-boggling because they kind of go sideways for a few years, and they have become what we call on Wall Street parabolic. They have gone straight up, and I think it's amazing.
Well, you know, look, it is undeniable after the 2016 election that there was optimism everywhere. You could see it in the markets, continues to go forward. And look, this is Donald Trump's doing. This is someone who campaigned on making massive changes in all areas, and we've seen it. It's Donald Trump's jobs bill, tax cuts, with regulations being rolled back, 22 for every one new, and not to mention the Department of Labor rule changes that have made small businesses even more optimistic than they were before. And we can't overlook entrepreneurship because for the first time since 2014, you see IPOs now. The U.S. is leading, and it's an amazing opportunity for all Americans.
You know, late today I saw a report by a survey by American Express on entrepreneurship driven by women. It was too late to get it in on this show, folks. We will break it down for you tomorrow. Mind-boggling numbers, particularly driven by black women entrepreneurs. With Vince, in the meantime, I do want to say these job openings really, we don't have 6.9 million workers. I mean, this is an abundance, an embarrassment of riches, if you will.
Yeah, and it gives all the leverage to workers who are competing in the economy and their ability to negotiate for a better paying, better compensating, better incentives, better benefits job. That's exactly the position that American workers want to be in. And I think you see every sector of the economy beginning to charge up under the Trump administration. Optimism at every level, whether you consider investors, whether you consider businesses, or you consider consumers. They're all at record highs. They're at levels that have not been seen during the Obama administration. It's clearly during the Trump administration, and I think the president can be proud of that.
Rochelle?
Well, you know, I'm sitting here listening to Vince and Katrina. I'm thinking to myself, well, yes, there was a lot of optimism in 2016 because of the economy. And the reason why was because of Obama. When Obama took office, 4 million Americans were out of work. And then you had 800,000 jobs being lost per month. You had him take the unemployment rate from 10% in 2009 down to 4.8% by the end of his presidency. So this idea that Obama's economy has nothing to do with where we are right now is the epitome of fake news.
Here's a 3-year chart, right? You can see where the small business optimism was really sideways. That spike was November 2016. Here's a chart of the job openings, the same sort of thing. We were sideways, and all of a sudden we had a spike. No one's trying to diss President Obama, but can you acknowledge that there's something different about the economy right now?
Yeah,
something different about the composition of jobs?
Absolutely.
We have manufacturing jobs versus retail jobs. They pay a lot different. You know, the composition of the enthusiasm. There's a big difference between surviving and you know, being in a foxhole and coming out of that foxhole.
No, absolutely. I think that where we are right now is absolutely great. But I think that this narrative that's being pushed out there that Obama had nothing to do with it. Obama didn't say, I fixed the economy. He said, I put us on a path to recovery. And as a result of that, Trump is now able to capitalize off of where we were.
I think that there's a difference here between, you can have two painters. One's painting by numbers and doing things that are artificial to make something work, and the other is Monet, who's doing things naturally and making something absolutely exquisite on its face. That's the difference. Now, as you've touched on, Charles, there is a difference between, you could totally have everybody having a job delivering pizza, and then there's a job that's a professional job that will see you through your lifetime, that you can actually raise a family on and know the future will be better for your children, where you can save money, where you can afford the vacation, where it's larger than that. It's those entrepreneurial dynamics where you're starting a company and becoming genuinely independent. That becomes this perpetual motion. Donald Trump's ideas put into motion, they're successful. It reminds people he was serious, and it works, and there's going to be more, and we need to do more of it. So it's certainly the numbers that we see in the market and in the marketplace, but it's also the psychology of someone who's not faking it with a 0% interest dynamic with the Fed, and where the market has put in trillions more dollars.
Let me piggyback on that one second. I'll get back to you. But Katrina, some critics are saying, though, that you can give President Trump the credit, but it's an artificial credit. In other words, the regulatory removals have a one-time impact. The lower taxes will have a one-time impact. And ironically enough, maybe this hurts the Republicans next year as it's not sustainable.
Well, no, Charles, I don't think so, considering they're already talking about tax cuts 2.0. But to Tammy's point, this is psychology. If you asked people, and they did, do you feel optimistic about your future, and even small businesses for that matter, during the Obama administration, the numbers weren't as high as they are right now because it's President Trump and his approach to business and his approach to the way that he wants to run the country that is driving a lot of that optimism. And we can't forget, since we're talking about Obama, the #1 job killer was Obamacare, and changes at the Department of Labor for small businesses has really come a long way to help small businesses in healthcare in that area.
Rochelle?
Well, you know, this is the thing. We were in the middle of a great recession. I do not understand how people do not get this. We were in the middle of a great recession when Obama took over.
That's true.
So this is a completely different economy. People were losing their homes. People were losing their jobs. So this idea that Obama, you know, he messed up the economy and he, you know, Obamacare messed up the economy. Give me a break. There were people in this country who could not afford health care. There were people in this country who could not take their children to the hospital to get help because they did not have health insurance. And now you have a president that is actually kicking those same people off of health care.
The problem, Rochelle.
Well, that's just not true. If you take a child to a hospital, they're not refused care. I mean, that's just absurd.
They're not refused care in the ER, Katrina.
If you don't want to give Trump credit where credit is due, that's your issue. The point is the American public is more confident and optimistic today than they were 8 years ago because of the leadership. Because of the leadership of the country. President Trump is moving towards a positive, free market, capitalistic society, which has been successful.
Vince, I don't want to get too much into the weeds, although we do know the dynamics, the result of Obamacare, where a lot of people being moved to Medicaid, right, or the local state programs, not necessarily private insurance, but that is a top issue, right? I think one of the ironies of the economy doing so well is it's starting to drift with respect to importance in November, because I think so many people feel like, hey, check, I got a job, check, I'm getting a raise, check, I can put my kids in college, and now healthcare and things like corruption are moving up to sort of be big issues. Isn't that an interesting dynamic, it's an interesting juxtaposition?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole host of things that voters care about, and there's a whole host of things that they don't care about. I think they're exhausted by the ongoing drama that they see every day out of Washington, D.C., and by the time they get to the polls, they're going to assess, okay, am I better off than I was 2 years ago? And the answer to that question, if you're broadly, is going to be a resounding yes. And if they can give the president credit for that, then I think in the end that's going to be very good for the Republican Party. I just want to make a real quick point on this economy thing, comparing Obama to Trump. The reality is the economy succeeded in spite of Barack Obama. Barack Obama expanded the Federal Register. Listen, Barack Obama expanded the Federal Register by 21% when it came to regulations. Donald Trump has decreased it, has shrunk it by 35%. In other words, by getting the government out of the way of the economy, he's allowed it to flourish. Investment has exploded.